Stop me if this sounds familiar. You wake up feeling like you've been hit by an emotional freight train, and you haven't even gotten out of bed yet. Your phone buzzes with another emergency from a friend who only calls when their world is falling apart. Your family expects you to be the eternal emotional support system, and somehow, you're the selfish one for wanting 5 minutes of peace. Here's what nobody tells you. You're not broken. You're not too sensitive. You're not the problem. You're an empath trapped in a world designed to drain you dry. But 2,000 years ago, a Roman emperor named Marcus Aurelius cracked the code that could set you free forever. This isn't another self-care Sunday pep talk. This is about something far more radical, learning to become emotionally untouchable while still keeping your heart open. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire in history while dealing with plagues, wars, and constant demands on his energy, yet he mastered something most empaths never learn: how to care deeply without carrying everyone else's baggage. What you're about to discover will fundamentally change how you see your sensitivity, not as a curse, but as your greatest superpower. Are you ready to stop being everyone's emotional dumping ground? Asterisk, the empath's curse, why good people get destroyed. Asterisk, Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But here's what he understood that most empaths don't. Being good can literally destroy you if you don't know how to protect your energy. Think about it. You were probably the kid who felt everything: your mom's stress, your dad's hidden anger, even your dog's anxiety during thunderstorms, while other kids were playing video games. You were unconsciously absorbing everyone's emotional frequency like a human sponge, and society loved this about you. "Oh, you're so mature for your age," they said. "You're such a good listener," they praised. But nobody taught you that this gift came with a manual. That being empathic without boundaries is like being a doctor without gloves. You're going to catch everything, and eventually, it's going to make you sick. Marcus Aurelius faced this same challenge on a massive scale. As emperor, everyone wanted a piece of his energy. Senators seeking favor, generals demanding attention, citizens needing solutions. Sound familiar? The difference is, Marcus figured out what modern empaths are just now learning. The people who benefit from your lack of boundaries will never teach you to set them. Here's the brutal truth that'll make some people uncomfortable. Your family programmed you to be their emotional support system. Your friends trained you to be available 24/7. Your romantic partners learned that they could dump their unprocessed trauma on you. And you'd not only take it, you'd try to heal it for them. And when you finally get tired, when you finally say, "No," or "I need space," suddenly you're the problem. This is what psychologists call trauma bonding, but I call it empath exploitation. You've been conditioned to believe that love equals suffering, that caring means carrying, that being spiritual means being a martyr. But Marcus Aurelius, who literally had the weight of an empire on his shoulders, understood something profound. Confine yourself to the present. You cannot heal your mother's childhood wounds. You cannot fix your friend's commitment issues. You cannot love someone out of their addiction, their depression, or their refusal to grow. And trying to do so isn't noble. It's a form of self-destruction that Marcus would have called disturbing your inner citadel. The emperor wrote, "Reject your sense of injury and the injury itself disappears." But empaths do the opposite. They collect injuries like trophies. Your ex's betrayal from 5 years ago, still living in your energy field. Your toxic boss's criticism. You're still proving them wrong in imaginary arguments at 3 a.m. That friend who used you for free therapy, then disappeared when you needed support. Their energy signature is still cluttering your mental space. This is why you wake up exhausted. This is why motivation feels impossible. You're not lazy. You're energetically constipated. Your system is so clogged with other people's emotional waste that there's no room for your own life force to flow. Marcus Aurelius had a practice he called morning reflections, where he would remind himself, when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. Sounds harsh. It's not cynical, it's protective. He was setting energetic boundaries before he even got out of bed. But you wake up with your heart wide open, ready to absorb whatever emotional chaos the day brings. You check your phone immediately, letting other people's urgency become your priority. You say yes to plans you don't want, conversations that drain you, and commitments that serve everyone but you. The Roman emperor understood what modern empaths are just discovering. Goodness without boundaries isn't virtue, it's weakness, and weak people don't change the world. They get consumed by it. So here's your first wake-up call. Stop believing that your sensitivity is something to manage or hide. It's your superpower. But superpowers without training are just liabilities waiting to happen. Marcus Aurelius spent years developing what he called the discipline of desire, learning to want what serves your highest good, not what makes others comfortable. The question isn't whether you're too sensitive. The question is, are you ready to become sensitively powerful instead of powerlessly sensitive? The guilt trap, how society programs empaths to stay small. Marcus Aurelius wrote something that would make most empaths uncomfortable. How much trouble he avoids who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does. But you were taught the opposite, weren't you? You were trained to be hypervigilant about everyone else's needs, emotions, and reactions. And when you finally try to focus on yourself, enter the guilt. The guilt is not an accident. It's a control system designed to keep you in line. Think about it. Who benefits when you feel guilty for setting boundaries? Who profits when you believe that self-care is selfish? The people who've been feeding off your energy, that's who. Let's get specific. Your mother calls you with the same drama for the 10th time this month, and when you don't answer immediately, you get the text, "I guess I'm bothering you." Your friend dumps their relationship problems on you for hours, but when you try to share something important, they suddenly have to go. Your partner guilt-trips you for wanting alone time. "I thought we were supposed to be building something together." These aren't loving behaviors, these are manipulation tactics. And if you grew up in a household where emotional manipulation was disguised as love, your nervous system learned to associate guilt with caring. You literally became addicted to feeling responsible for other people's emotions. Marcus Aurelius, who could have easily fallen into this trap with millions of people depending on him, wrote, "You can commit injustice by doing nothing, but here's the twist empaths miss. You commit injustice against yourself when you do everything for everyone else. You become a ghost in your own life, a supporting character in everyone else's story." The guilt specifically targets empaths because we're wired for connection. We feel others' pain as our own. So when someone says, "You're hurting me," by pulling away, our entire system goes into alarm mode. But Marcus understood something crucial. Other people's emotions are their responsibility, not yours. He wrote, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." But American culture, especially, has weaponized empathy. We're told that good people sacrifice themselves for others, that real love means tolerating bad behavior, that family is forever, even when it's toxic, that friendship means being available 24/7, that romantic love means losing yourself in another person. This programming starts early. Don't be selfish. They tell the sensitive child who just wants to color alone, family first. They say to the teenager who's being emotionally abused at home, "That's just how your mom is." They explain to the adult child trying to set boundaries. With a narcissistic parent, marriage is work. They counseled the spouse being systematically drained by their partner. Meanwhile, Marcus Aurelius, a man with actual responsibilities to millions of people, wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." He wasn't telling people to be selfish. He was teaching the ultimate truth. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't love others if you don't love yourself. You can't set others free if you're not free yourself. The guilt tries to convince you that you're abandoning people by choosing yourself. But here's what nobody tells you. The people who truly love you want you to have boundaries. They want you to be healthy, happy, and whole. The people who get angry when you set boundaries, they were never loving you. They were using you. Marcus faced this constantly as emperor. People would come to him with their problems, expecting him to fix everything. But he learned to ask himself a crucial question. Is this my circus? Are these my monkeys? Most of the time, the answer was no. And learning to say no kindly but firmly was how he stayed sane while running an empire. The American dream has been twisted into a nightmare for empaths. We're told to hustle until we burn out, to be productive even when we're breaking down, to optimize ourselves for everyone else's benefit. But Marcus knew better. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one. Being a good person doesn't mean being a doormat. It doesn't mean carrying emotional baggage that isn't yours. It doesn't mean explaining yourself to people who benefit from your confusion. Sometimes, being good means disappointing people who got comfortable with your lack of boundaries. The guilt wants you to believe that you're responsible for everyone's happiness, but you're not. You're responsible for your own healing, your own growth, your own peace. And that's not selfish, it's sacred. Energy, vampires, and the art of detachment. Marcus Aurelius had a term for people who drained his energy, obstacles to action, but he reframed them brilliantly. Instead of seeing them as problems, he saw them as training for his discipline. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. For empaths, energy vampires aren't just annoying, they're your personal bootcamp for learning detachment. But first, let's identify these energy vampires, because they don't always look like villains. In fact, the most dangerous ones look like people who need you. They're masters of emotional manipulation, and they've been studying your empathic responses for years. They know exactly which buttons to push to get you to drop everything and rescue them. There's the crisis creator, always in some dramatic situation that somehow becomes your emergency. I don't know what I'd do without you, they say, while conveniently never being available when you need support. There's the guilt tripper, who makes you feel responsible for their emotions. You're the only one who understands me, followed by silent treatment when you can't drop everything for them. Then there's the energy borrower who calls you when they're down, absorbs your positivity and advice, then disappears until their next crisis. And perhaps the most dangerous, the gaslighter, who makes you question your own reality. You're being too sensitive, they say, when you try to address their behavior. I was just joking, they claim after saying something deliberately hurtful. Marcus Aurelius dealt with these personality types daily in the Roman court. Politicians seeking favor, generals making excuses, citizens blaming him for their problems. But he developed what he called the view from above, a mental practice of seeing situations objectively, without emotional entanglement. Here's the brutal truth about energy vampires. They're not evil people. They're wounded people who learned that manipulation works. They discovered that your empathy could be weaponized for their benefit. And because you're wired to help and heal, you became the perfect host for their parasitic patterns. But Marcus taught something revolutionary about dealing with difficult people. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. For empaths, this translates to, don't become cold and close-hearted because some people misused your gift. Instead, become strategically selective about where you invest your emotional energy. This is where the art of detachment comes in. Detachment doesn't mean not caring, it means caring without being consumed. It means loving people from a distance when up close is toxic. It means understanding that you can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved, no matter how much you love them. Marcus practiced this with his own family. His son Commodus became one of Rome's worst emperors, but Marcus couldn't control that outcome despite his best efforts as a father. He had to love his son while detaching from the results of that love. This is the empathic superpower, learning to care without carrying. The practical application: start implementing what I call energy audits. After every interaction, ask yourself, do I feel more energized or more drained? If the answer is consistently drained with certain people, it's not because you're weak, it's because they're taking more than they're giving. Energy vampires hate boundaries because boundaries end the game. When you stop being available for their drama, stop explaining yourself, stop trying to fix them, they often disappear. And when they do, that's not abandonment, that's liberation. For both of you, Marcus wrote, adapt yourself to the life you've been given, but love the people with whom you share it. Notice he didn't say tolerate toxic behavior or sacrifice yourself for others' comfort. He said adapt and love, which sometimes means loving people from a healthy distance. The American culture of never giving up on people has traumatized empaths into believing that walking away is failure. But sometimes, walking away is the most loving thing you can do. It gives the other person a chance to grow instead of enabling their dysfunction. It gives you a chance to heal instead of slowly dying inside. Energy vampires will tell you that setting boundaries is cruel, that you're abandoning them, that you've changed, you have, for the better. But Marcus Aurelius knew, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Your energy is not a renewable resource when it comes to people who refuse to reciprocate. Protect it like the precious gift it is. The shadow work solution, embracing your dark side. Here's where Marcus Aurelius gets really controversial. and where most spiritual advice falls apart. He wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together." But he also knew something that modern empaths desperately need to learn. Sometimes loving people means getting angry at them. Sometimes caring means cutting them off. Sometimes being spiritual means being what others call selfish. American culture has a toxic relationship with anger, especially for empaths. We are taught that anger is negative, that spiritual people don't get mad, that getting upset means you're not evolved. But Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic philosopher and a warrior emperor, understood that anger is information. It tells you when your boundaries have been crossed. It alerts you to injustice. It's your inner alarm system screaming, "This is not okay." The problem is, empaths were trained to ignore this alarm system. When someone mistreats you, instead of getting appropriately angry, you make excuses for them. They're just going through a hard time. You say about the friend who constantly cancels on you, "That's just how they are." You rationalize about the family member who treats you like an emotional dumping ground. But Marcus knew better. He wrote, "Whenever you want to cheer yourself up, consider the good qualities of your companions." Notice what he didn't say, "Make excuses for people who mistreat you." He was talking about people who actually had good qualities worth celebrating. Shadow work, a concept that would have made perfect sense to Marcus, means integrating the parts of yourself you've been taught to reject. For empaths, this includes your right to be angry, your right to say no, your right to prioritize yourself, and your right to walk away from anyone who doesn't appreciate your gift. Your shadow contains all your suppressed power. Every time you smiled when you wanted to scream, every time you said it's fine when it wasn't fine, every time you prioritized someone else's comfort over your own well-being, that energy got pushed into your shadow, and it's been building up pressure like a volcano doth. This is why so many empaths eventually snap. After years of being the understanding one, the patient one, the giving one, something breaks. They either blow up in ways that shock everyone around them, or they shut down completely, becoming numb and disconnected from their gift. Neither outcome serves anyone. But Marcus offers a third option: conscious integration. He regularly examined his own motivations, his own reactions, his own needs. He didn't pretend to be perfect or above human emotions. In his private journal, he admitted to frustration, disappointment, even moments of wanting to give up his responsibilities. But he used these feelings as information, not evidence of failure. For empaths, this means acknowledging the parts of you that are tired of being everyone's therapist, the part that's angry about being taken for granted, the part that wants to be selfish sometimes, the part that's tired of explaining yourself to people who benefit from your confusion. These aren't character flaws, they're human responses to being mistreated, and when you own them consciously, they become sources of strength instead of secret shame. Your anger becomes discernment, your selfishness becomes self-care, your desire to walk away becomes healthy detachment. Marcus practiced what he called morning reflections, honest conversations with himself about his true feelings and motivations. For empaths, this practice is essential. Every morning check in. How am I really feeling? What do I actually need today? Who am I trying to please at my own expense? The shadow also contains your power. All the times you held back your truth to keep peace. All the moments you dimmed your light so others wouldn't feel insecure. All the occasions you played small to make others comfortable. That's your power. In exile, American individualism gets a bad rap, but for empaths, learning healthy individualism is medicine. You matter. Your needs matter. Your dreams matter. Your energy matters. And anyone who has a problem with you claiming your own life was never really on your team anyway. Marcus wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." For empaths, happiness often means disappointing people who got comfortable with your self-abandonment. It means choosing yourself even when others call it selfish. It means integrating your shadow so you can shine your light without apology. Your shadow isn't your enemy, it's your power in disguise, waiting for you to claim it. Becoming the lighthouse, your mission as a sovereign empath. Marcus Aurelius wrote his most powerful insight near the end of his life. Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight. He understood that everything, including his role as emperor, was temporary. But what wasn't temporary was his commitment to being a lighthouse for others. Not by sacrificing himself, but by standing in his own power so solidly that others could navigate by his light. This is your destiny as an empath who's done the work, not to be everyone's emotional support system, not to fix and heal and rescue, but to become so clear, so centered, so unshakably yourself, that you naturally inspire others to do their own work. The lighthouse doesn't chase ships, it stands firm and lets its light do the work. But getting to lighthouse status means making some changes that will feel radical at first. It means releasing your addiction to being needed. Yes, addiction, because for many empaths, being the fixer, the helper, the go-to person for everyone's problems has become your identity. And like any addiction, recovery requires admitting you have a problem. The problem isn't that you care too much. The problem is that you care indiscriminately. You give premium energy to people who show you discount behavior. You invest in relationships that don't invest back. You prioritize people who make you an option while you make them a priority. Marcus faced this constantly as emperor. Everyone wanted his attention, his resources, his energy. But he learned to distinguish between urgent and important, between genuine need and manipulative demand, between people who deserved his investment and people who were just energy drains with good marketing. Sovereign empaths who've reclaimed their power, operate differently. They love deeply, but detach from outcomes. They help genuinely, but don't take responsibility for other people's growth. They care about others' well-being but refuse to sacrifice their own for it. Here's what this looks like practically. You stop answering every call, text, and email immediately. You create space between stimulus and response. You practice saying, "Let me think about it," instead of automatically saying yes. You stop explaining yourself to people who aren't trying to understand you. You end conversations that consistently leave you drained. Most importantly, you start prioritizing your own mission. Because here's what nobody tells empaths. You were given your sensitivity for a reason. It's not just to absorb everyone else's pain. It's to create something beautiful from your deep understanding of the human experience. Marcus understood this. His journal entries weren't just philosophical ramblings. They were a sensitive man's attempt to make sense of a brutal world. His Stoic practices weren't about becoming emotionless. They were about feeling deeply while remaining functional. His leadership wasn't about pleasing everyone. It was about serving the highest good, even when people didn't understand. Your mission as a sovereign empath is similar. You're here to create, innovate, heal, inspire, but from a place of fullness, not emptiness. You can't paint if you've given away all your colors. You can't write if you've used all your words, consoling others. You can't build if you've spent all your energy fixing other people's foundations. The transition from people-pleasing empath to sovereign empath isn't smooth. People who benefited from your old patterns will resist. They'll call you selfish, cold, changed. They'll try to guilt you back into your old role. This is the test. This is where you choose your future self over your familiar self. Marcus wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." For empaths, the best revenge against those who drained you is to become so powerful, so purposeful, so aligned with your mission that their opinion becomes irrelevant. Not because you don't care about people, but because you finally care about yourself enough to protect your gift. When you become the lighthouse, something miraculous happens. The right people start finding you. People who don't need to be fixed, who appreciate your depth without exploiting it, who add to your energy instead of depleting it. Quality replaces quantity in your relationships. Your sensitivity becomes your superpower when it's protected by boundaries, directed by purpose, and grounded in self-respect. You stop being a victim of your empathy and start being a master of it. The world needs empaths who are powerful, not empaths who are drained. It needs your gifts delivered from a place of strength, not sacrifice. Marcus Aurelius knew this 2,000 years ago. Waste no more time arguing what a good person should be. Be one. Stop arguing with your sensitivity. Start being powerfully, sovereignly, yourself. The lighthouse awaits.